Not anxious to be Brazil.
And then get it.
James West here reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
please.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is The Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show, every day covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers, either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. You know, we started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide, reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine,
Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad.
As a friend.
As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 you wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
What's up, kiddos? It's me, Clinton Yates from the Washington Post. It's Friday, November 6th, 2015. I'm filling in for Bill Press here on The Bill Press Show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you're watching live on Free Speech TV or on TawkrTV, of course, you can find Free Speech on DirecTV and Dish Network. TawkrTV is on youtube.com/TawkrTV. That is TAWKRTV. You want to find us on the Twitter box, @BP Show is the place to do that. And if you want to give us a phone call, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377 is the number. You can hear us on the iHeartRadio app, the TuneIn app, on the Progressive Voices channel, and of course, Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. To my right is Peter Ogburn, executive producer of this program. Hello, Peter.
Clinton Yates.
How are you?
Happy Friday. I'm well. Thanks for coming in, man.
Of course, man. I'm always glad to be here. On the other side of the glass is Jamie Benson running the board. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning, sir.
If you give us a phone call at the aforementioned number, Ray Rogers will be screening your phone calls. And, of course, Cyprian Bolding is our videographer, and he will be doing some important work later in the show when we reveal our T-shirts. However, I'm going to tell you about the Adventures of Movie Club first, Peter.
Okay.
Some of you all know that I conduct a movie club, something that Jamie is a part of but has never been to. That's a sidebar. And last week we saw a movie called Sicario.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's the Benicio del Toro, Emily Blunt movie that on its surface, what's his name is in it? What's his name? Josh Brolin is the other guy in it.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, it's sort of
Can I guess? Does he play like a hardened Texas sheriff or cop?
He's not quite hardened.
Okay.
He wears flip-flops, but he is absolutely a DEA, CIA in-betweener guy who takes no S.
Okay.
He's definitely that guy. And it's sort of on building upon the Narcos kind of theme. You know, the idea is that they're sort of trying to find a certain head honcho, but you don't really know what the ulterior motives are because everybody is sort of operating in the gray area between law enforcement and personal vendettas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's got some cool scenes. Some people said they liked the movie better when it was called Traffic. Ooh. And it's not that bad, but it's got an interesting but it's got an interesting sort of larger plot line, which is that at the end of the movie, there are no good takeaways. You don't feel redeemed at all.
Yeah, okay.
And you sort of feel to yourself, maybe this is what the drug war is really about, just sort of a shell game as to what we're doing. People are sort of killing each other just for the sake of doing it. There's a lot of personal vendettas. I don't necessarily say, I would definitely not recommend this film. However, if you are into the shoot-em-ups that are around drug-related stuff, Sicario is a movie that might be worth renting because it looks relatively cool on some level. But the message that it sends about the war on drugs and sort of where the cartels intersect with the government is a very interesting one.
I think that's the takeaway from most of these types of movies is that there are no winners.
There's no real solution. Yeah.
Right. And like, I always feel a little helpless. Like the reason I didn't see it, because I was thinking about going to see it, is I was right in the middle of watching Narcos on Netflix. Okay. And I was like, it's going to be a little too much.
I haven't seen Narcos yet. I need to get into that. But this movie, I don't know, there's some super plot holes, but it was interesting enough. I gave it a D in Movie Club.
Ooh.
A lot of people, but that was the lowest grade by a lot.
Okay.
Some people liked it. Friend of the show, Freeman Thompson, he liked it a lot. A couple other people liked it. So anyway, if you're looking for something that's not quite mindless, but some interesting shoot 'em ups, Sicario's a decent movie.
All right.
Got a lot of show to get to, but first,
You're on. This is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. A new store has opened up in Longmont, Colorado, called Shoes and Brews.
Okay.
I'm going to let you guess what this is.
Yeah.
Shoes and Brews.
Pretty straightforward.
It is a running store where you can go and get fitted for shoes, find your good running shoes that you like, and at the same time, they have 20 taps inside the store where you can get yourself a beer.
Whoa, okay. I wasn't expecting you to go that far with that. All
yes,
right.
Shoes and Brews. It's the whole. They say that the whole like running and then grabbing a drink afterwards culture is so big, especially in Colorado where they have all these craft beer, that they opened up this store with a lot of local beers. And they say the business is just going through the roof. Everyone wants to go to Shoes and Brews.
That's what we're moving towards, where you're just going to have 4 taps in every single place you go to, whether it's the bookstore, whether it's the dry cleaners, whatever, CVS.
The slash bar.
Yeah, everything is going to be a slash bar now.
Yeah.
There's going to be a tasting room in the back because everybody's got to have a microbrew IPA that's locally done. That's the world we live in now.
I told you the story yesterday of California and how they are having problems with high levels of domoic acid inside of their Dungeness crabs. They yesterday, after I talked about the story, they officially postponed crab season in California. It's a big, big deal because Christmas time was sort of
I think you mispronounced that word.
Crab?
What? Yes.
The crab?
Crab season?
Crab. Yeah,
Okay,
well, look,
I misunderstood what you were saying because your foreign accent.
I ain't talking about
crabs.
no Maryland blues. I'm talking about your Dungeness. The Dungeness crab in California. The big thing is that like the season starts, it's supposed to start this weekend.
All right.
And Christmas time is the big rollout for these Dungeness crabs. And so they're not going to have any.
That's not good.
Infinitely postponed until they can figure out what the hell is going on and find some clean crabs.
I've never had a Dungeness crab.
I
Am
actually,
missing something?
I'm going to say something a little controversial. I prefer the Dungeness crab to the Maryland blue.
Whoa! Shut down the show.
I love.
Shut down the show.
Ain't nothing like a Maryland blue in the world. But these Dungeness crabs, I'm a big fan.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That's all we get from Dundalk. Don't let them brew because they're going to be mad. I've never seen this.
Essex. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
We're not letting this take over the show again.
I've never seen this before, but in Seattle, there is a famous gum wall. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been there.
Have you been there?
I've been
Okay. All right. So apparently it's outside Pike Place Market. It's called the Seattle's famous gum wall. And people, tourists, show up at the Market Theater gum wall. It's under Pike Place Market. And what they do is they take their gum and they put it on the wall. And it is a gigantic... I'm going to tweet out the pictures of it. Clinton, it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life.
Disgusting. Jamie, what is it like?
I didn't add my gum to it, but it's just a big wall of gum.
Oh, yo!
Yeah, look at that.
It's supposed to be similar to the Paris Bridge with the locks and all that.
That's not similar at all.
Totally different.
That is how people do it. I'm just
spit.
Popular opinion.
So you did not add your gum to the wall?
No.
Did you touch the wall?
No.
Okay. All right.
If you touch the wall,
you
should take like a bath in
Smart
Purell.
Move. Wow.
The point of this is they have finally said, Seattle has said, enough.
This has to go.
Enough is enough. We can't let this stand. So this weekend, they are going to steam clean that wall. They are going to get
I don't want to be there for that.
Can you imagine the sludge and slop that's going to fall off of that wall?
Grotesque.
They're going to steam clean it. So if you want to go see this nasty gum wall in Seattle, you can go, but you better hurry.
That is
Because I ain't going to be there
I think
long.
we might get some calls on this. I bet there's people that...
Oh, I'm sure
If
people
you've been
love
to the
that
gum
kind of
wall,
stuff.
does it stink? Right? Like
Yeah, what does it smell like?
Is
No,
it minty
there's no
fresh or is
smell.
it people's nasty breath?
It's kind of like in an alleyway almost. Like it's under a walkway type thing.
Okay.
It's fine. It's just...
So it gets
It's
good.
not
It gets
fine.
good air.
It's not fine.
I
There's
didn't
nothing
touch it.
fine
I didn't
about
put my
it.
gum on it.
Ugh.
All right, thank you. Okay, now on to more serious matters. I'm going to read a headline straight from the publication that pays me, the Washington Post, paper of record here in the District of Columbia, the capital of the United States of America. New book spells more family drama for Jeb Bush. Now, George H.W. Bush, who was the father of Jeb Bush, who was running for president, obviously the father of one George W. Bush, has a new, I don't want to say tell-all memoir out, but it's a book that's about his time in life,
and it's from his diaries and notes to his biographer.
Everybody cares about what presidents think following, when they look back on life and they take stock of their administrations. Now, obviously, H.W. Bush has a sort of a different reputation as the commander-in-chief than does his son, but there are some very interesting details in this book that cause a bit of a family rift. Number one, he sort of takes a shot at H.W., basically saying that he wasn't exactly sure that his axis of evil comments were really necessary, and in fact, historically were probably pretty harmful, never mind inaccurate. And he calls Dick Cheney an iron ass, which is very interesting.
That is such a great old man put down.
It is a great old man put down. It's the kind of thing you hear guys yelling at each other on the golf course.
Exactly.
At a country club. And it's in front of their families and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And the book presents an interesting quagmire for Jeb because, listen, a lot of Jeb's appeal to people that really care about things like this is who he is, his name. He can draw on the Bush dynasty, for lack of a better term. There are people that think that maybe he's going to be a little bit more like George in terms of his neocon ways. And there's a lot of people that think, you know what? Maybe he'll be a little bit more like his dad in terms of willing to have some level of international outreach before he goes so far as to start bombing people. Now, the question is this: 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Do you think this book is going to help or hurt Bush's campaign? Because here's the deal. If you're leaning more towards, he's got to answer questions about this from here on out on the campaign. And the question is, well, who do you prefer? Your bro or your pops?
Yeah.
There were two very different characters politically. Peter, where do you think this lies in terms of a strategic tool for the Bush campaign?
I honestly think that this can't hurt Jeb Bush.
You don't think so?
Mostly because I can't think of anything that's going to hurt Jeb Bush any more than he's already hurt himself. Jeb Bush has a very interesting, touchy reaction about his brother, about he kept this country safe, which is not true in the slightest.
Right.
But his dad is a totally different character, and you haven't heard a lot of talk about him being tied to his dad. Everyone's trying to tie it to his brother, which is fair. But I think if you're going to do that, you got to tie it back to his dad. And
they're all in the same family.
There's some really interesting stuff that H.W. says in the book about the stubborn-headedness of Republicans, the bad decisions that his son, George W. Bush, made. And I think a lot of us see that and go, well, yeah, he's right. He talks about the obstruction of Newt Gingrich in 1990, about how he sort of double-crossed H.W. when he was president over a budget deal. And he just said he's running around there trying to shut everything down with no backup plan and offering no alternative. Now, that was 25 years ago.
Sounds familiar.
Right? That was 25 years ago. Now, if Jeb Bush can latch onto that and turn it into his own campaign, I think it'll go somewhere. I really do.
866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. I think what it presents for Bush is an identity crisis because a lot of people look at Jeb and you say, what do we got? Are we dealing with H.W.'s brother? Son. Yeah. Are we dealing with W.'s brother? He has had a real issue defining himself, in my opinion, outside of his identity as a Bush.
Yeah.
And if there is documented infighting amongst the people whom he is using as his two axes for relevance, you've got a serious issue there. Because what you're saying is if H.W. is effectively criticizing W and Jeb is sort of aligning himself with W, that is a tacit or sort of an inferred diss to Jeb as well.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult to navigate politically.
The comments of Pappy Bush on George W.'s presidency, the two most pointed criticisms were aimed at Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. Two of the people who, when we look back at the legacy of George W. Bush, we look at the mistakes that those two guys made, right? When we talk about keeping the country safe or getting us into war or lying us into war, those are the two guys. And his father sees what a disaster they were and even calls out his son and says, I really have to question the judgment of my son for keeping them on so long. If Jeb would do that instead of saying, well, my brother kept this country safe, which is flatly, patently false, he would come across as a much realer, more believable candidate.
Difficult political situation. 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. How do you think his father's book will affect his campaign is a question we're asking this morning on the Bill Press Show. Want to get your thoughts. Again, it's a very interesting situation. We all thought the W was going to be a part of this. We didn't think that HW might actually factor into this discussion as well. Give us a phone call. Let us know what you think. I'm Clinton Yates. I'm filling in for Bill Press. It's Friday. Happy Friday.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. When I say dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan, big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post. I'm filling in for Bill here on a Friday. We're talking about Jeb Bush and the new book that his father, George H.W. Bush, has coming out. I'm going to read from the lead of the Washington Post story, which says this: a former president is rarely publicly critical of another former president, especially by way of a tell-all book. Even more rarely has one president been the father of another. And those two categories have never intersected until now. Very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, it's, George H.W. Bush has stayed out of the limelight, right?
Yes.
Like he when he gives speeches, which is, he doesn't really do any anymore, but in the past.
He's 91. He has Parkinson's disease.
When he gave speeches, it was never bombastic, partisan speeches. He's just a friendly old grandpa.
Yeah. No, and I just think Jeb is in a very weird spot here because, like I said, his age plays a factor here. You can't come out and say something crazy about your dad being wrong or whatever, and then, have him maybe not be with us any longer. I mean, this book could end up being a very serious, the sort of final document of what the Bush family has sort of done in the presidency. I want to read a couple quotes from this story that I don't think look good for Jeb. What's Jeb's real first name, by the way?
I honestly don't remember.
It's not Jebediah. Someone asked me this.
It's not Jebediah.
It's
definitely not Jebediah.
His name was like James E. Bush.
We're taking your phone call if you want to talk about it. How do you think this book might affect Jeb Bush's candidacy? 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. This is what he told NBC's Meet the Press last weekend. That's Jeb. He says, I love my dad. I'd kill for him. I'd go to prison for him because I love him so much. Thankfully, I haven't had the need to do that. Now, the reason why that's problematic is because, many people believe that the reason why H.W. went to war in Iraq is because of, why W went to war in Iraq is because of H.W.'s relationship with Saddam Hussein. Mm-hmm. So when you just lob out, I'd kill for him, that sort of sounds like you're considering going to war
Bush
over
takes that very
a
seriously.
personal vendetta. I mean, this is not a joke when you think about that choice of words. And then when you go even further as to say, I'd go to prison for him because I love him so much. Again, there are people on the far left of the aisle who believe that W. Bush is a war criminal. Yeah. Like, this is a very bizarre and kind of irresponsible thing to say if you really understand what has happened with the history of that family. And it's so strange that Jeb has sort of taken both sides of the coin in this and been like, oh no, all I talk about is football and ranching with my buddies at the house at the Bush ranch. And you're like, hold on a second. I would hope you would talk to them about a lot more than just that. Otherwise, what are you running for president for? Yeah. You'd think that you'd had a little bit more responsibility in terms of your family lineage rather than just, which he actually says, my dad and my brother happen to be the last two Republican presidents. No crap, they happen to be the last two Republican presidents. That's why you're running for office.
That's about it.
I mean, it just at least show, I just think that he needs to show a little bit more of his own identity and a little bit more of himself for people to believe that he's doing it for any reason other than his last name is Bush. And at this point, this book doesn't help that. It makes it more difficult for him to define himself for who he is, which I don't think works well for his campaign. I'm Clinton Yates. I'm filling in for Bill Press. It's Friday. We'll be back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Officer, were you the one who arrested me? Gonna shake my hand? So I got invited to host a vigil called Carry the Names. And that's what they were doing, carrying the names of the people who were victims of deadly police force. Michael Brown, Eric Garner, that guy Gurley. I got a motion from Dragonfly from Stop Shopping Choir, and I started preaching. I preached up a storm as best I could, but about a minute and a half into my sermon, the place was flooded with police, Homeland Security, National Guard, state troopers, and I was pushed over and handcuffed so fast, down in the jail, down in the basement. Before you know it, I was out the door, put in prison overnight. The next morning, I'm in court. The same thing happens. I'm just rushed out of there. Then our lawyer, Wiley Steckler, gives me this iPhone, And there, in black and white, in the Gothamist, a popular paper, is this charge by Adam Lisberg, the MTA law enforcement spokesperson for this grand place. His quote is that I, Reverend Billy, physically attacked a police officer. Unbelievable. The feeling of being robbed of my work and life and identity, just the fiction. I did not touch anybody. I did not look. I know how to do this. I'm trained in nonviolence. I did not do anything. It was right here. It was right here. It happened right here. I was simply arrested while I was speaking and taken away, and that's it. The cold feeling in my city, the city that I love, that city spokespersons whose salary I pay for with my taxes, that they would say this. I could just feel the rending apart of the community, that we are not that close. We're not. They are willing to say this, and they think that they can just say anything about anybody and get away with it. So we have something in the Church of Stop Shopping called radical forgiveness. Amen?
Cops and bankers love their children.
I forgive the police.
We gotta love them too. Cops and bankers love their mothers.
But I'll stay radical.
Mothers love their brothers. We gotta love them too.
But we'll wake up every morning forgiving each other, reaching out, touching, telling stories, having humor, being in a community together, sharing our children, sharing the streets, sharing the climate, being in the city together. But forgiving each other, being grateful to each other, helping each other out, living together, living together.
I got a daughter just turned 4. What do we do in the superstore? What do we do with the blood and the gore? The water's rising through our door. Love our children too. Love our children too.
Amen. Earth-alleluia.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
He's not running for president, but he will shake hands and kiss babies. It's the Bill Press Show, your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election.
How we doing today, folks? My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post. I'm not running for president either, and I will not kiss your baby. However, I will talk a little music with my hat to the back.
Kissing baby is pretty gross, bro.
Kissing babies is super gross.
Disgusting.
On both levels.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not letting some rando kiss my baby. No. And if some rando sticks a baby in my face, there will be no kissing. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So, our close personal friend Benjamin Carson is once again he's on a rampage. He's doing a lot. He's staying in the news. And yesterday, a little piece of audio gold dropped, as they say, in the streets. Dropped on us in the form of a radio ad that is going to be unveiled in 8 cities. Now, let me set this up right quick, Jamie. It is done by a man named Aspiring Mogul.
Yeah.
That's not his goal. That's not a description. That's not his Twitter handle. That's not his bio. That's his actual rap name, Aspiring Mogul. He is a self-described Christian Republican rapper. Huge market for that, by the way, from what I understand. And he's the auteur of this new song / ad that's coming out on radio. Hit it.
Vote, inspire.
in 2016. Vote and support Ben Carson for our next president and be awesome.
America became a great nation early on, not because it was flooded with politicians, but because it was flooded with people who understood the value of personal responsibility, hard work, creativity, innovation, and that's what will get us on the right track now. I'm very hopeful that I'm not the only one who's willing to pick up the baton of freedom, because freedom is not free and we must fight for it every day. Every one of us must fight for it because we're fighting for our children and the next generation.
If we want to get America back on track, we got to vote Ben Carson. A matter of fact, go out and vote.
I'm Ben Carson, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Carson America.
All right, now let's go through a couple things here. We're gonna break this thing down from a fundamental standpoint. Number one, we're just gonna take every single thing Ben Carson actually says in terms of the message out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Number one, beat F. Jamie, your thoughts? Awful beat.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, the way I put it on Twitter yesterday, it sounds like the bad music from the Boondocks TV show.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. It like a bad B-side.
And
from
that's
a
what it's supposed to be in the Boondocks. It's not supposed to be like that in real life.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
Good point.
I give it an F+.
F+. Now, lyrics, F-.
Yeah,
Rhyming
terrible.
Carson with awesome, I believe that's
Yeah.
what that's
Although,
what
I've heard West Coast rappers make that rhyme before.
Carson.
I don't like it.
Carson, California.
You're listening to rappers from Carson, California.
The word awesome doesn't belong
It
in
happens.
rap, okay?
I'm not co-signing it. I'm just saying it's a thing.
Listen, I'm not saying that it's. I'm not here to tell people what words rhyme with others. I'm just saying it's poorly executed.
I'll give it a D+.
Is what
for
I'm
lyrics.
saying. Awesome doesn't belong in hip hop.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
D+ is a little strong, Jamie. That's a little high, I think.
I'm just saying he's not the worst rapper
It's a
in the world.
failing
I'm
rap.
not here to stand up
The
for
rap
him.
fails.
What are you
The
talking
rap
about? He's not the
fails.
worst rapper in the world. This
I
guy's
can't think of a worse rap.
This guy's a
I'm
grown
not kidding.
man.
I'm honest to God, I'm not kidding.
Putting his lyrics in the street.
I can't
This
think
is
of a worse
awful.
rap I've ever heard in my
Sorry,
life.
guys. The lyrics are slightly better than the beat.
Wow. Okay. See. Wow. See. Okay.
Jamie's gonna come in here with an aspiring mogul shirt on.
No, I'm going to book him Monday morning.
Yeah.
You
Hey.
just watch.
Yeah.
Okay. So we give this overall though. This gets an F, or does it get a D from Jamie over here?
I give it a D-.
It gets an F.
It gets an F.
It fails.
Thank you very much.
It
Now, what
fails
will
as a
not
rock.
get an F is our production here from MC Gaithersburg. This is an Ogburn original, and it's a reply song from our buddy Donald Trump.
Donald Trump's.
Maybach music.
Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing.
Already better
Bing, bing,
lyrics,
bong, bong, bing, bing, bing.
I've made billions and billions of dollars dealing with people all over the world.
Ben Carson is a complete and total loser.
And when you see the mind is weak. I don't see it. I don't get it. I never understood. How did he even get on television? He talks like a truck driver. He's basically a disaster. I like to see bad people fail. Jackass, 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 jackass.
Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing. Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing.
Shouldn't even be on this stage. He's number 11. He's got 1% in the polls. And how he got up here, there's far too many people.
I'd like to take some money out of these fat ass pockets. From a physical standpoint, he looks like hell. Can you imagine living with this pig face?
I'm Donald Trump. I'm running for president, and I approve this message.
Lyrics already better.
Right.
Than our Boris aspiring moguls.
I'll give him that.
Ding, ding, bong, bong. That's all you got to say.
Bing, bong.
Bing, bing, bong, bong. So take us through the creative process here.
Well, first of all,
you were
say,
in the lab. You were in the lab.
I was in the beat lab,
slaving away.
Yeah, just working on it.
Working on
the
it.
beat farm. So first of all, I just want to point out, I'm tweeting out the unedited version because
the street version.
There are the chopped and screwed remakes we're going to put out in the street. Here's the thing though. There are some things that Donald Trump has said that we can't play on air.
Really?
Yeah.
Just too sexist or too crude?
No. He drops an MF.
Really?
Got Donald Trump's dropping the MF on China.
Oh,
yeah.
That's not good.
No. So,
Can't have
but that's in there. That's in there. But like, I heard the Ben Carson rap ad, and my first thought was like, "Holy cow, this is embarrassing."
Yeah, it's
I thought it was
very
embarrassingly bad.
It's
right?
very embarrassing.
And by the way, even Ben Carson has walked back the ad. He was like, "Well, I don't think I would have done it that way." So
decent Carson.
Decent
Carson. You got to work on that.
I know. I'm working on it.
Stay
I'm
in the
working
race.
it out
You gotta
on air. I got
work it out.
working
Yes.
on this. But so we have so much Trump. I mean, Trump. We forget flirted with running for president like 2 other times.
Yeah, so he's got a lot of.
So there's a lot of Trump.
He's got a lot. Now, speaking of Carson impersonations, I want to bestow upon you all the best Ben Carson impersonations of all time. This comes from a man by the name of the Kid Mero, who is a comedian, internet personality. I don't really know how to describe him. He describes himself as a dirty dude from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Jamie, hit it.
Hello, everybody. This is Ben Carson. I'm running for president of the United States. Right now, you're listening to these two men. I guess, they may or may not be Muslim. If they were, I would treat them differently. I've repaired the brains of several babies. Essentially that means that I'm qualified to do things. Have you ever seen the brain of a giraffe? Clearly, you're not qualified to run this country. Have you ever seen the sternum of a penguin? I've repaired several. I went to Botswana and made a brain out of sticks. That means that I can be the president.
Oh, God.
It's really good.
That is the greatest.
It's really good. There's one more clip that I don't necessarily know is funnier, but again, this impression, the Kid Mero, props, shouts to the Kid Mero, as he would say on his own show, Bodega Boys. Find it on SoundCloud if you want to. Here's a second clip.
Well, I'm not here for the jokes. Anyway, let me explain something to you. You in your life of living have never gazed upon the cerebellum and said, I got this. No, you have not. So you are not qualified to make decisions like me.
I'm sorry. I mean, it doesn't get any better.
There's a little Prince in there.
There's a tad, but the laugh.
The laugh
is great.
Absolutely.
It is genuinely one of the best impressions I've ever heard.
It's distractingly good.
Right.
Like, it
and that's
messes
the thing.
me up.
All right, listen, I don't want to spend too much more time on this because we got other things to get to for the rest of the show. But the bottom line is that bad urban, my air quotes here if you're watching on TawkrTV and Free Speech TV, bad urban radio ads to try to get black folks out to vote are pandering, demeaning, and insulting.
Have you ever?
You wanna impress black folks? Show me the sternum of a penguin. No, I'm joking. But no, seriously, it's about policy and it's about presentation. If you're out here talking about how the Black Lives Matter movement is, full of dangerous people, some stupid ad from a guy claiming to be a Christian Republican rapper is not going to do anything for you, Ben Carson. You need to run screaming from this guy because he is doing, in fact, more harm than good. Have you ever gazed upon a cerebellum? Have you ever gazed upon a microphone and said, I got this?
I went to Botswana.
I do this regularly. Kid Mero, great impression.
The greatest.
I'm Clinton Yates. It's the Bill Press Show. We'll be back.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
I am your toilet, so how do you do? I take away your wee and the odd number 2. For a quiet moment, I'll always be there, bringing you troubles. You don't even have to care. Oh, think about the things you put me through. Things you put me through that I've been through you. Stuff from your body I'll happily take. Liquid or solid, whatever you make. When you think of all the things that I do, it's time to say thanks to your Lou. If I wasn't there anymore, you can only imagine disaster. I am a lifesaver. So next time you have to do a poo or a wee, thank the sanitary saints that you have me. When you think of all the things that I do, it's time to say thanks to your Lou. La 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 la. It's time to say thank you to your Lou.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post, filling in for Bill here on a Friday. On the line, we have freelance journalist Libby Watson. You can find her on Twitter at Libby C. Watson. Good morning, Libby.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm well. I'd like to discuss your story. Headline, New York Magazine, it's time to reclaim trolling. The story is a great inside look at sort of how we define ourselves and what we're really looking at in terms of how we communicate with each other online, what it actually means, what the different silos and buckets are in terms of trolling, harassment, various other things like that. Tell me a little bit about what made you want to write this to begin with, Libby.
Well, honestly, it was just annoyance at the way people sort of describe everything as trolling these days. You know, Obama will say something vaguely rude about Republicans, and everyone will be like, "Oh, he's trolling them," and it's just frustrating to me. And then also, you know, you get these stupid pieces that people will write for various, you know, sort of clickbaity websites with some kind of contrarian takes. There was one the other day that was like, you know, spooning in bed is sexist or whatever, and yeah, I didn't even read it because I just, you know, I knew it was just trying to get attention. So, you know, I think calling those things trolling is silly, especially if we're also going to use the words to describe, you know, real bullying and harassment and, you know, things that can lead to serious consequences online. So I was really just trying to, you know, go through, I guess, like a typology of trolling and, you know, talk about what trolling is and when it can be good.
That's what I want to ask you, because I'm a grown-ass man. I've used the internet for quite some time, and I still don't totally understand the term trolling. What is trolling?
Well, I think at its heart, it really means to sort of intentionally disrupting or derailing something or just, you know, making someone angry. There's, you know, something that people like to do, especially on Twitter, is point out that someone else is mad. They say, "Oh, you sound a bit mad about that," and it's really just like playground stuff. It's like, you know, stop hitting yourself. But I mean, it originated, you know, when the internet was just, you know, like Star Wars nerds and all that stuff on message boards. You know, and it would be someone who would come into a conversation and just totally derail it and, you know, get everyone talking about something else or, you know, just chaos really. But since the internet has, you know, expanded and become bigger, it's also people that, you know, just abuse people, you know, go after someone or words, the meaning of words changes as, society changes and everything. So, I get that. So, yeah, it's definition is really just expanded to, any kind of intentionally annoying or disruptive act.
We're talking with Libby Watson here on the Bill Press Show. You can find her on Twitter at Libby C. Watson. I will say this, Peter and Libby, as somebody that has written a fair amount of opinion pieces, my problem with the word trolling being hijacked for any random loose disagreement is that we have devalued the definition of the good old diss, the insult. Sometimes you're trying to hurt somebody's feelings or make it a point that, hello, you're a fool, and this is why. And by sort of throwing it all into the trolling bucket, the pointed, sharp statement of idiocy is lost upon all of us. And I that is where I have a real issue with this, Libby.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. If you call everything trolling, it means, that's literally how things get devalued. So I think it's a real problem. And you're right. I think, there is a place in democracy and in, civil society for people to disagree about stuff and for people to be, to some extent kind of nasty about it. I think sometimes you need, there are people out there, journalists who make a lot of money by having not very well thought through, opinions about politics, or by, for example, there were journalists who helped, spread misinformation about the Iraq War and stuff. And I feel like those people deserve to be held to account.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
you can't really do that if you're just nice to everyone all the time. So I think you're right that calling it trolling, it does make it sound like, childish or whatever. And I think that's especially a problem when you use the word to describe, the sort of 4chan stuff where people, there are sort of online organized campaigns of really vicious stuff, like people pretending to be, people who have killed themselves and stuff. That stuff is just appalling, and calling it trolling makes it sound like, kids. Which it just
that
isn't.
belongs in a totally different category than people who literally just do pranks and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a good
Last
point.
thing I'll ask you, Libby, what is the future of trolling, so to speak, in your opinion?
Interesting question. I don't know. I'm kind of a pessimist, so I can't, I kind of feel like we really haven't had a good solution to the kind of harassment, abuse stuff. We don't really understand why people do it. It's sort of normal people that do that. There are occasionally stories of people who have been confronted by, the people that they've trolled online, and they just go, "Oh my God, I had no idea. I didn't really realize this was a real person." So, and also, it's really hard to get the police to take it seriously because they don't understand it. So, I don't feel like it's. I feel kind of worried about that, but. I kind of ended the piece by saying, thank God for the small joy of making bad people look stupid. And, at the end of the day, there will always be people online who are, getting Richard Dawkins to retweet fake quotes of himself, or tricking politicians in the same way. And, at least there'll be that. So there's some hope.
Thank you, Libby.
Thank you.
All right, that's Libby Watson. She's a freelance journalist. You can find her on Twitter at Libby C. Watson. Check out her new piece. It's called "It's Time to Reclaim Trolling" on NewYorkMag.com.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
We came here to Foster City, where we're going to watch UC Berkeley, a University of California SWAT team, do a hostage rescue scenario.
Should I put the water in there now?
Yeah, go ahead. So this is like some kind of chemical agent?
Yeah. Copy, we're ready.
I'm gonna get shot. I already know it, dude. Fiends yelling at me.
Help me. Show your hands. Help me. Show your hands. Back away.
Gentlemen, we have a chemical. We need to pull our person out. Get these guys out of here. Pull them out. Put your hands on your face. Put your hands on your face. Keep him covered.
Your head up. He's got a shotgun back there.
That's all right. Keep his hands up where we can.
Hands on your face.
Hands on your face. On your face.
Someone cover me. I got a holster up, bro.
Okay, pull him around the corner. Pick him up. Get him out of the building. Quickly. We've got this. Let's get that guy out of there. You, come towards us. Keep your hands on your face. Turn around. Face away from us. Back towards us. Quickly. Back up towards me. Quickly. Pull him out of the room.
We're exfilling, Billy?
Yes, we are exfilling.
It was actually around 92, 94. There was an attack on the chancellor at his residence, which is on campus. And we realized at the time that we didn't have any resources to deal with that kind of threat when it took place. So, and I think about 15 years before, they had some kind of semblance of a SWAT team. So they regenerated the idea of activating a SWAT team.
And then since then, you guys have kind of branched out to doing what kind of stuff?
Well, since then, we train for everything. We train for every eventuality, barricaded subjects. Like I said, most of what we do is high-risk warrants.
And it's something like it could be like a mugging kind of thing, just like on the street.
Depends.
Or
I mean,
like
a mugging, but if it's armed, particularly.
Right, an armed mugging.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And then obviously we're looking for training for anything else that we might be faced with. And that's what's great about Urban Shield is we couldn't duplicate this on our own.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post, filling in for Bill here on a Friday. Yesterday, you don't know where I find myself, Peter.
Where?
I was in the bowels of Nationals Park watching one Johnny B. Baker Jr., also known as Dusty, get introduced as the manager of the Nats.
Oh, nice.
I like Dusty Baker. He was a cool guy. Let's see. Let me tell you a couple things about Dusty Baker you might not know. He was part of inventing the high five because Glenn Burke, the man who very famously was blackballed from baseball because he was gay, high-fived him once when Dusty Baker hit his 30th homer of the year in 1977, making himself the part of the first four-man group on one team, the Los Angeles Dodgers, that all hit 30 home runs. Dusty Baker also was on deck when Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's record for the home run record. Bet you didn't know that.
I didn't know that, actually.
And here's something else. Dusty Baker once smoked weed with Jimi Hendrix. That's awesome. Dusty Baker is the new manager of the Nationals in Washington. Dusty B is dope.
I like that guy.
No, he's a good guy, and so, I should be looking forward to some good days here, hopefully, for baseball down on Half Street. We'll be back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm a Piston fan. Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas, too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got. A lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to. I'm not eligible for Social Security, so the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself, blood pressure, or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor is allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for.
I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed, or where. We're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished. When they incarcerate your children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
What up, kiddos? It's me, Clinton Yates from the Washington Post, filling in for Bill here on a Friday. It's November 6, 2015. I want to thank everybody for tuning in on your progressive talk stations around the nation. Of course, if you're watching us on television, you're either live on Free Speech TV or TawkrTV. Free Speech TV can be seen on DirecTV and Dish. TawkrTV is, of course, on YouTube at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKRTV. You can tweet us at BP Show. Find us on the Twitter box there. Got a lot of fun content per usual. Of course, you can call us at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. We're also on the iHeartRadio app, as well as the TuneIn app on the Progressive Voices channel and Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. It's a great way to find us. Peter Ogburn is the executive producer of this program. How are you, Peter?
I'm well, Clinton. Happy Friday.
Good to see you.
Friday.
Jamie Benson runs the board across the glass. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm pretty good.
All right. Ray Rogers will screen your phone calls if you give us a call on the aforementioned line. And Cyprian Bolding is the videographer who shows you my tremendous T-shirt as well as Jamie's tremendous T-shirt.
Oh, look at you guys.
Got a quick story to start with. Yeah, you missed the memo.
Yeah, I missed it.
On the email.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because you don't live in the city, Peter.
MC Gaithersburg.
MC Gaithersburg in the building. So I just wanted to start off this segment with this story. Pardon me. The Hill's Jesse Byrnes is with us as well here. How are you, Jesse?
I'm doing well, thanks, Glenn.
You can find him on Twitter at Jesse Byrnes. So there was an email that went out yesterday, Peter, that basically said we had a good run. It was from the originators of the City Sports apparel and athletic franchise.
Oh, wow.
And it's a real bummer. I mean, I wrote a thing about it, if you want to check that out. Personal tease. And it's weird because, like, it wasn't like City Sports was necessarily the greatest place in the world. But if you lived in the city and you were between a certain age, you had a T-shirt or you knew somebody that had a T-shirt. And hello.
T-shirts are everywhere.
They're everywhere, you know, and they're great T-shirts. Like, you don't want to go work out? Yeah, I'll put on a City Sports T-shirt. You know what I mean? It wasn't so pretentious like the performance gear where it's like, oh, look at me training for the marathon.
Right.
It also wasn't like, oh, I got to wear a tank top because I think I'm, you know, Johnny Buffnuts or whatever. It's just a T-shirt, you know? And they came in different colors. They even had long sleeves. They were very cool. And I'm very bummed out. These things represent an interesting time in the district because once we hit this super post-gentrification boom, it's going to be different. But right when we started coming to terms with, it's not really Chocolate City anymore. Yeah, we got City Sports. Everybody kind of wears the T-shirts.
Yeah.
These things are going to be an interesting thing if you see somebody walking around with one in 20 years. You're going to be thinking, whoa, that guy's got a City Sports shirt. Anyway,
that's cool. That's a bummer, though.
A guy tweeted at me and said in the 90s, because it still wasn't as big, their big expansion was in, I want to say 2008.
Mm-hmm.
He said that it was like a cloth passport to tell the world you were from Boston if you had a City Sports T-shirt on. It was as simple as that.
Oh,
Jamie,
cool.
your thoughts on City Sports?
It was a big deal. So for me, it's a situation of don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah.
Because I was a little late to the City Sports T-shirt wearing game. I only have two in my closet, but I am very familiar growing up in New England, seeing a lot of folks, specifically runners, wearing the City Sports Boston T-shirts. So I might have to snatch up a few.
Yeah, you should go home. You should tell your peoples up in the bean to get something.
Yeah, I got my DC ones. I need the Boston ones.
Right. Now, they're very cool geographical markers of where you might be because they started putting the names on them. So if you look, you can watch me. I have my burgundy and gray. Nice. And by the way, I wear these to watch the Washington football team
I've seen
play
you wear
football. I got 6 of these in my closet that I rotate in and out. We got a lot more that's important to get to. But first, Peter Osborne.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. All right. I'm going to get your take on this because this happened in England. A woman named Laura went into Starbucks and she ordered a coffee. And, you know, they put your name on the coffee sometimes, right? This person, this barista that took her coffee order, gave her cup back. And it said, "Careful, you're extremely hot." Instead of where the coffee, instead of saying "Careful,
Bold
the coffee
play
is very
here.
hot."
Yeah.
Right? And then put on there, "Have a nice day," right? So she put it up on a blog and was like, "This isn't cool. This is creepy and weird." And Starbucks, by the way, stands by the barista.
Wow.
Yeah, they said, "We're sorry if anybody was offended by this."
Oh, the old non-apology.
Yeah, the non-apology, but they're standing by it. They have no problem with it.
Well, they love stuff like this. What was it a couple of months ago? They wanted the baristas to have conversations.
Oh,
right.
right.
Which was
ridiculous.
A terrible idea.
I see. Okay. Typically, I fall on the stance of, listen, if you're offended and you don't like it, it's harassment. I mean, I can live with that, but it would be hard for me to be offended by this. And again, that comes from my stance of male privileges, you know, but decencying, probably not the right place for it.
Yeah.
If it's somebody you don't know coming out of left field. If it's a regular, I don't know if there's a different relationship there. You know what I mean?
I mean, I typically fall on the side of like not telling a woman, "I think you're extremely hot."
Yeah, that's Bush League on many levels.
That's not good.
Right.
Like, that's not a good look.
No, it's not a good look. But I am surprised, very much surprised that Starbucks is standing by the barista.
Yeah, I am too.
Very
I really am surprised by that. All right, so earlier this week I told you Marco Rubio was asked, "Who do you want to have a beer with?" Right? If you could have a beer with anybody, who would you want to have a beer with? And he said Malala Yousafzai. Which, for a lot of reasons, is a dumb answer because, number one, she's a teenager.
Right.
Number two, she is a practicing Muslim.
Right.
So she doesn't drink twice over. Yesterday, Ben Carson was asked by Jorge Ramos, "Who would you most want to have a beer with?" And he said, "I want to have a beer with Jesus."
What?
Jesus is who he wants to have a beer with. He wants to crack a couple brews
with
our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
That's ridiculous.
And crush some brew dogs.
Have you ever opened a bottle with just your mind? No, okay. Wait, what? How does, I don't even understand that.
It's a weird and stupid question.
It's a very weird
and an even dumber answer.
Wow.
I hate the whole "who would you want to have a beer with?"
Right.
Because they have to give some stupid political answer.
Especially for the non-living.
Right. Who do you want to have a beer with? I don't know, my friends who I like to drink with and have a good time with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, this story is it's touching. It's a hard story to do.
Okay.
There's a guy in Texas who has a very rare connective tissue cancer. And he found out in July he's not going to make it very long. His name is Daniel Fleetwood. And he is a big Star Wars fan.
Oh.
So he started tweeting, and his wife started tweeting, "Can we please get an advance copy of Star Wars The Force Awakens, which comes out December 18th, because he doesn't think he's going to make it that far. He thinks he's going to die before that." So this has been going on, and some of the actors from Star Wars have been saying, "Let's get him a copy, let's get him a copy, let's let him see it." We found out yesterday that on Wednesday, J.J. Abrams made sure that he got an unedited version of Star Wars The Force Awakens. It worked. His wife announced on Facebook that he sat down at home, got to watch the movie, and it fulfilled, like, this is one of the last things he's going to be able to do.
Oh, my God.
He's not going to be around for much longer. He
I
knows
thought
that.
for sure this would not happen.
It worked.
And at best, they would hook him up with a flight out to somewhere, show him the movie, and fly him back.
They gave him a copy.
They gave him a copy?
I mean, I'm sure it has all the usual watermarks and you can't share it and all this type of stuff, but they said, we know you don't have much time. You've made a very, very strong appeal to see the movie. We're going to let you watch it.
The Force is with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
How about that?
That is not what I was expecting to be the epilogue of that story.
You like that? You like the happy ending?
I do.
It's a good
that
ending,
was solid.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
Sweet
All right.
story.
Thank you, Peter.
You got it.
As I mentioned before, we have staff writer from The Hill, Jesse Byrnes, in studio. Jesse, let's talk about Jeb Bush and his father and his brother. His father's new book recently comes out and sort of criticizes not only his brother, but also Mr. Cheney and Mr. Rumsfeld, We asked the question to listeners earlier today. I'm asking you, how does this affect what Jeb is trying to do from an image standpoint on his campaign, do you think? What are you hearing on this?
Well, certainly complicates things a little bit. Anytime, the Bushes as a family are in the news, maybe it's not great for him. Although, this is an important time for him. We've seen, he's been lagging in the polls. And so this, he's having to combat this in addition to trying to jumpstart his campaign. So 2 different things that he's trying to do now. But certainly it doesn't put him in a great spot when, your father, a former president, is, critiquing and criticizing to some extent key figures in the administration of your brother. And so, and he's trying to, parry that off and spar that off while also trying to define what he would be as president. A lot of this goes back to foreign policy decisions in the Bush administration, the George W. Bush administration. And so, and we've seen in the course of Jeb Bush's campaign, he struggled to kind of answer questions on that. And so, again, this puts him in a spot that he doesn't necessarily need to be in at this point. He would much rather be focusing on his campaign and other issues.
Is it possible, and Peter and I discussed this earlier on the show and in the break, that maybe this is not a good thing, but it forces his campaign to kind of really narrow what the definition is? I mean, you mentioned it. He's sort of fighting battles on 2 fronts here. But if he's going to make it out of this being any other than a Bush type of mentality, maybe this book is what pushes him to say, hey, I'm not George, I'm not HW, I'm Jeb, and here's what I am.
There's certainly the possibility. He said in a speech, I think it was in Chicago several months ago, I'm my own man. And so that's been the narrative he's been trying to say for the last several months. It doesn't seem to have kind of broken through to the extent that he would like it to. And so, yeah, it raises the possibility with this book that when you are really getting into the details of the different Bush administrations, Jeb Bush even said yesterday in an interview with NBC, today is not, 1991 is not 2001, and it's not the same as 2017. And so it gives him an opportunity to, show why he might be different from his father and his brother administrations.
We're talking with Jesse Byrnes, staff writer at The Hill here on the Bill Press Show. My name is Clinton Yates, filling in. My concern here, though, is that the W administration becomes this sort of like big campaign topic that, to me, of course, what the last Republican president did is important vis-a-vis what the other presidential candidates on the right side of the aisle are doing. But are we going to find ourselves in a situation where this book becomes a legitimate campaign topic, for people not named Jeb? I mean, I think that that's an interesting concept to think about, that not only is Jeb going to have to answer this, Peter, but like other dudes and other people on the campaign trail might have to answer for what some other guy's dad or brother did very awkwardly, sort of right in front of his face.
Yeah.
Not just one guy, but 2 guys.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one of the other things is that Jeb has so many leftovers from the George W. Bush administration, right, that he's put on his sort of team of not think tank
squad,
I guess, but his squad are a lot of Bushies that are left over. So like the whole Bush family fingerprints are all over his campaign.
Well, and it might become a topic, and maybe should become a topic with some of these candidates. I mean, you have to realize just a few weeks ago, Donald Trump was going after George W. Bush and whether he was protecting the U.S. Leading up to and following 9/11. And so 9/11 and those decisions completely surrounding that are addressed in the book based on some of the excerpts that we've seen published. And so it certainly could become a topic with some of these other candidates.
Let's hear a couple things that Jeb had to say about Dick Cheney.
As it relates to Dick Cheney, he served my brother well as vice president, and he served my dad extraordinarily well as Secretary of Defense. The context changes. We got to get beyond, I think, this feeling that somehow that 1991 is the same as 2001.
That's what you were referring to earlier.
Well, there's one of my other favorite clips that doesn't get nearly enough attention out of this is that he called Michael Dukakis a midget nerd. George H.W. Bush, after he beat him, called him a midget nerd that looks like he just emerged from a coal mine. Is what he how he referred to Michael Dukakis.
That's a serious
which is
statement.
Pretty great.
That is pretty solid thing. And here's one more thing that Jeb Bush said about his dad.
If my dad said it's true, geez, I guess it's probably, since he's about as perfect as I can imagine.
He is the greatest man alive, as you say.
He is, so that puts me in deep conflict here, but I don't remember that.
I don't understand where Jeb goes with this. At some point,
own it.
He has to take a stance against either his brother or his dad or side with either one. Do you think, Jesse, that voters are going to require some level of distancing on the right side of the aisle in order for him to really be a factor in this race?
Potentially. I mean, I think a lot of people were kind of caught off guard by these comments from H.W. Bush. And so it's certainly something that he has kept quiet for this long. And but it's rattling the nest, I think, a little bit in Bush world. As far as voters, Bush, throughout this campaign, has tried to defend his right flank. And that's been a primary focus. And of course, they're in the Republican primary, so he has to do that. He has to show that he's, the quote unquote most conservative, the most Republican of the field. He hasn't been able to do that. Trump has really stolen the show. That being said, there are 3 months. I think a lot of pressure is on him again in this next debate on Tuesday. And, the narrative going into all these debates has been, to some extent, make or break for Jeb Bush. He's really pushed back hard on that. But this next debate will really showcase opportunities for him to say, I'm my own man again, and to show, maybe have a few zingers to say, maybe he does take a side. We don't know.
Can Jeb fix it? I know he's running around saying Jeb will fix it, but can Jeb really fix it? And by that I mean, can he turn it around?
Well, potentially.
Yeah.
You never know. It doesn't seem like it's going in his direction now. They said, expect a few more weeks of bad polls. So they're
What's
fully.
a few more weeks?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, I love this story because this could potentially be the extinction level event for the Bush dynasty. That kind of makes a lot of people happy. I hate to say this, but HW's been around. Everybody knows what his story is. W's been around. Everybody knows what his story is. If it turns out that Jeb running at all is the thing that brings the whole reputation, as bad as it already may have been, down, that actually, I'm not going to say will make me laugh, but just from a studying of history and the characters involved in American politics, to think of where all of those guys have been in their careers, to think that this guy, Johnny Ellis Bush, thank you for the tweeter who hit me off with that information, could actually be the linchpin that brings down the Bush family is very interesting. When we get back, we are going to discuss what's happening in the debates in Milwaukee. Jesse Byrnes will still be with us. I'm Clinton Yates. This is the Bill Press Show.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use, which is a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post, filling in for Bill. In studio with us is Jesse Byrnes of The Hill. Jesse, tell me what's going on with the Republican debate and or what's not going on for a couple different characters.
Well, Fox Business announced yesterday that Chris Christie and Mike Huckabee will be off the main debate stage. That's a huge blow for both of their campaigns. Christie had a strong debate performance in the CNBC debate last week in Colorado that I got to cover, and this is a huge loss for him. Now there are only going to be a few candidates on that primary stage, and only 8 candidates, the smallest showing on that main debate stage, the primetime stage. Also out of the debates entirely is Lindsey Graham. We saw right after the CNBC debate last week, Mitt Romney calling for him to be on the primetime stage. Now he's not even on the stage at all. And so huge blow for all 3 of their campaigns. But certainly, you know, a smaller field for Jeb Bush, a smaller field for Marco Rubio and Donald Trump on that main debate stage is a kind of net win for them. It shows that the field is maybe starting to winnow a little bit.
So what do you say, Peter? We're talking about 4 hours? 4 hours is enough for eight candidates? What do you think?
No more 3-hour debates. 2-hour debates, period.
Get in, get out.
That's it. I can't go any farther than that.
All right. He's Jesse Byrnes. He's a staff writer at The Hill. You can follow him on Twitter at Jesse Byrnes and online at thehill.com. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Glenn.
This is The Bill Press Show.
I have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power.
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post. I'm filling in for Bill here on a Friday. Headline, BuzzFeed News, Peter. White House admits no possibility of a two-state solution for the rest of Obama's term. Not in the cards is the word used for the final status agreement on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Wow.
Not exactly a great harbinger for things to come. And on the line, we have my old friend, Karmah Elmusa, who wrote a piece for Elle magazine called I Am Longing for Palestine While Living the American Dream. Good morning, Karm.
Good morning, Clinton. How are you?
I'm well. So let's talk about this. It's a very personal piece. You discuss your family, your upbringing, and your feelings about sort of where people are in terms of the basic understanding of this conflict. Talk to me a little bit to start with about what led you to sort of admit this much to yourself and share your background and your feelings about the situation overall.
Yeah, I think I'd been thinking about these issues for a long time, my whole life really, and I was finally given the opportunity to kind of put them down on paper. Growing up as a half Palestinian, half American person in D.C. has been sort of a unique experience in that I often felt like people didn't understand my background and where I'm kind of coming from. So I was really pleased to get the opportunity to share that.
Have you found in sort of public situations maybe that, and I don't want to use the word outed here because that sounds a little bit weird, but you discuss how the way you look has afforded you to be able to just basically not have to talk about that. But in situations, you know, we live in D.C., these kind of conversations come up in the course of these dinner party sort of discourses. Have you found yourself having to sort of defend what is the Palestinian side in situations where people otherwise didn't know that was your background?
Yes, that happens all the time. I know your listeners can't see me, but I'm a fair person. I have blonde hair. I have blue eyes. So I'm not what one might think of when you think of an Arab person or a Palestinian person. So people unwittingly say things about Palestinians and Palestine all the time in front of me. And I've sort of felt this need to spring into action and just not only defend, but provide some context for what are often confusing current events. But, you know, that's something that I've become more comfortable doing over time and have felt more and more sort of proud to do, I think.
In terms of your upbringing, you know, there's your brother, you mentioned your father, you know, what, and I don't mean to be super personal here necessarily, but what did holding on to that heritage mean on a day-to-day basis besides just watching the news and hearing sort of stories of yesteryear from your father? Were there things that in trying to uphold your Palestinian heritage that your family did in terms of cultural norms or other things that I think most people probably don't know even exist?
That's a great question. I think there's a few things. I mean, obviously, as with any culture, food is a huge thing that we kind of try to preserve and continue traditions on. You know, celebrations. My father was raised a Muslim. We celebrate both the Christian and the Muslim holidays when we can. And also, but I think, you know, a lot of times it felt more subliminal, like we just talked about Palestine a lot and his experiences there a lot and acknowledged what he had gone through. And I think that was kind of how it played the most role in our home.
Is it different for you than it is maybe for your brother or for other members of your family at this point? I mean, obviously, you all are not a monolith as Palestinians or those with Palestinian heritage. You know, I mean, I guess I just wonder sort of, because like you mentioned in the piece, and again, it's called I'm Longing for Palestine While Living the American Dream. We're talking with Karmah Elmusa. She's a writer, and this piece is for Elle magazine. You know, I mean, I'm sure that you guys probably were conflicted within yourselves. I mean, the reason I'm asking all this is because, again, as you state, so few people understand the other side and the complexities of the politics for everybody, not just for one side or the other.
Yeah, I certainly don't think my experience, not a monolith, as you said. I actually, in the wake of writing this piece, have heard from just tons of people who've had really similar experiences to mine and also really different. A lot of people who said, you know, I'm half Palestinian or I am Palestinian, but I was kind of raised to believe that that was a dirty word, not something that I would want to own up to publicly in the States. And they appreciated my essay because it kind of brought to the fore a lot of the issues they'd been dealing with. So I think it's an experience that has landed in many different ways in this country.
Was there any part of you, Karm, that was maybe afraid to write this because of what people might sort of think of you personally or what your family might sort of feel about how you represented yourself for them?
Absolutely. I definitely had some hesitations about writing it. For one thing, you know, as we know in this day and age, any young woman who writes something on the internet is opening herself up to kind of a torrent of negativity. And that did happen in this case, certainly. But it also just is a really personal thing for me that I haven't put out in as specific of a context before. So I was nervous. I think the feedback that I've gotten has been pretty overwhelming on the positive side that I'm just really glad I did it.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, the last thing I'll ask you this is, Karm, is going forward, I mean, and, you know, I'm not saying that you put yourself out there as any sort of spokesperson or anything like that, because obviously this was a very sort of personal essay, but, you know, do you think that maybe at this point, how have your feelings about the matter as you've grown up sort of advanced, and do you see how do you see yourself viewing this conflict, or whatever you want to call it, sort of going forward as what is now basically a grown up, versus the child that you speak of your father's heritage?
Well, obviously, as we all get older, the reality of the world kind of hit harder, and I think it's difficult for me to. Many days, I feel like it's difficult to understand how there is a resolution going forward. But all the Palestinians I know here and on the ground in Palestine and Israel are very positive people. They have a positive outlook, and I try to take a page from them and have hope. As trite as it might sound, I think it's kind of the only way to operate.
Thank you, Karmah.
Thank you, Clinton.
All right, have a good day. Karmah Elmusa. You can find her on Twitter at Instant Karmah. That's KARMAH with an H. That headline, by the way, though, is not very promising.
No, I don't like that.
I don't like that at all. I mean, and if you read through the story, it was a big part of. I mean, it wasn't as big as a lot of other things, but the two-state solution is something that a lot of people were really hoping was an option. And you thought maybe Obama was going to be the guy that could get you a little further down the road. I mean, this has been something we've been talking about since the 70s.
Yeah.
And if you look at the numbers, the way the numbers have polled, it swung the other way in terms of the number. And again, a lot of these polls are sort of flash hits that are really designed around political points. But a lot of the numbers say that a lot of Palestinians aren't necessarily that interested in a two-state solution anymore. Right. And fighting is a very real option. And they don't think, because of the occupation, that a two-state solution is realistic. I mean, they just don't have faith in the Israeli government to uphold that. And it is really, really distressing when you think about it. And I'm really glad we got to talk to Karmah about that, because on the American side, you see somebody, wearing a Palestinian flag or something of that sort, and you sort of automatically you presume that they're aligning themselves with some terrorist minority group.
We've done that in this country.
That's not what's going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Obviously, there are people that are fighting, but there is a very rich heritage of a nation and of a people that needs to be understood.
One of the problems that we've done in this country is, no politician can say a bad word about Israel. And the president, Obama, hasn't necessarily said bad things about Israel, but he's also said, you can't get every single wish that you desire.
Right.
We're going to work this out, and it might not mean that you get everything that you want. And the byproduct of that is the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu hates Barack Obama.
Right.
And I think the feeling is mutual, to be honest. I mean, they don't like each other.
Not a very good political relationship at this point. Yeah. Anyway, that was Karmah Elmusa. Check out her piece at Elle Magazine. It's titled, "I'm Longing for Palestine While Living the American Dream." It's a fascinating look at identity and how that crosses over with conflict and war and how it affected one person in particular. I'm Clinton Yates, The Bill Press Show. We'll be back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
Same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post. Filling in for Bill here on a Friday. And, we're all in the business of, on some level, of journalism. We have a lot of writers and columnists who come into this program, and Bill was fortunate enough to give me a shot on this program, and now I'm on the seat. So when I get a chance to discuss the business of journalism, I try to do it, especially in stories that I think are important. And last week there was an important one in a production called Grantland, or Grantland, depending on how you say that, was shuttered at ESPN after a 4-year run. It was the site that was started by Bill Simmons, also known as the sports guy, who went from ESPN page 2 personality to podcaster to creating his own vertical, and was a part of the 30 for 30 series and a lot of journalism that, for lack of a better term, defined a certain generation. Grantland was a site that went long form, extremely long form, into topics that a lot of people found maybe to be frivolous, maybe to be a little too niche. But the way that they framed the dialogue was not X's and O's and what just happened. It was a lot of why did this happen and a lot of what happens next. And when the site died, it was a decision that the 4-letter network made after Simmons had been canned for various reasons that we don't need to get into here. A lot of people were really upset, because it wasn't just about, obviously every time a site gets shuttered, there's the personal upsettedness of people losing their jobs,
employment issues.
And in these and in this business, a lot of people know each other. So I guarantee that most people probably who come on this show probably knew someone who worked at Grantland in some way or the other.
Sure.
And that was bad enough. But for what the site represented for journalism, it's a real blow to the business that it couldn't work. You're talking about a site that tried to meld the worlds of pop culture, politics, and sports, which we try to do here on this program. Not easy. No. Not easy, Pete. Let me tell you. Just because they make it look easy doesn't mean it is. But when you're talking about a real deal website where you're trying to go deep into various topics, it's a difficult thing to do. Now, Jamie, I know you were a reader.
Avid reader.
And you were kind of that target demo. You're a younger man than I. You're a guy who was really into a lot of the topics. Peter, you're a tad older than I am. I like the site, and full disclosure here, I was recruited to write for that site, but that has nothing really to do with my feelings about it. That's just an aside that makes me sort of a little bit more personally connected to it. But as a reader, I was a monster fan, and I want to know what you think about the site or thought about the site, Peter, from your perspective.
Okay, so full disclosure, I hate Bill Simmons. Okay. I don't like Bill Simmons.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But above and beyond that, there was nowhere else for writers to write like that.
Yeah.
When it started doing what it was doing, right? It's 100% not about sports, which is kind of where a lot of their writing came from. But the fact that you get such talented writers who could write about whatever they want was so cool.
Yeah.
And, who does that now? I mean, they did sort of set a trend in the fact that you see a lot of writers just writing about whatever they feel like, but it's not done nearly as well or as insightful or as thoughtful as Grantland did it.
Right.
I'm really bummed, right? Like, I can't say I went to the website every single day, but every time that I went, I would always find something.
Makes sense.
And I listened to some of the podcasts. The Rembert podcast was great. So, yeah, I'm bummed that it's gone, mostly because I like new, weird, different things. And you could genuinely find new, weird, different things at Grantland when
Absolutely.
you went
Jamie, your thoughts?
So I'm on the opposite end. I love Bill Simmons.
Oh, he's terrible. What are you talking about?
Having grown up
He's
as
the
a
worst.
Boston sports fan, because he is the homerest of homers.
He is.
So always good for me. I will say that I will compare it sort of to a lighter version of The New Yorker in some of the feature pieces that they published. Saying this because I am a big fan of The New Yorker. I'm a subscriber. I read it every week. In The New Yorker, every once in a while, you'll have a pop culture long-form piece, like a Chris Rock piece. In Grantland, you have that pretty much every week, and multiple ones every week. So I'm really upset that it's gone. Big fan of Rembert, big fan of some of the other writers that were there, but I'm glad that the archive is going to stay up, and we can always revisit some of the great pieces.
It was a writing site for writers.
That's exactly what it is.
That's really hard to achieve these days because in a world of ratings, metrics, clicks, it's really difficult to justify that. But what it means to you as a person is never really going to manifest itself in numbers,
right?
In measurables. It's tough to do that.
Right.
I wrote this at the time, and I still believe it, and a lot of people thought it was a way over-the-top comparison. But if you think of some of the writers that are there, Shea Serrano, Rem, who happens to be a friend of mine, Concepcion, a lot of these, Molly, a lot of these people, you're going to look at that site in 10 years, and I think people are going to consider it the way they considered some of these old Saturday Night Live casts. When people started coming out of it, and you were like, whoa.
Yeah.
They were all at the same site? Come on.
Whoa.
You're like, what? What were they even doing at the time? And people will go back and say, whoa.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah,
and that's one thing that I will give Bill, whom you hate, credit for, was his ability. And we use the word hate sort of in jest here. There's no personal
I don't
animosity
literally
here.
hate
Yeah,
Bill
no. That's
Simmons.
not
He
what
drives
we're
me
saying.
nuts.
But you're going to see it's like, wow, that one guy managed to have a vision that put all those other people together was really something remarkable at the day and age that it happened. And I think that is what the ultimate legacy of that site will be, was that you got lightning in a bottle for 4 years. And they did pretty well with it. It didn't start great, but it ended pretty well. And unfortunately, the business of journalism ate it alive. And that sucks.
That really bums me out.
That's really all I have to say about it, Jay. Anyway, R.I.P. Grantland. Pretty good site. Even better space in the cultural pie that is the journalism world. I'm Clinton Yates. We'll be back.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at Facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
Would you like a bag?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat the threat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
This is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates, filling in for Bill here on a Friday. It's time to go over what POTUS is doing today.
POTUS.
Answer? Not much.
Yeah.
Having lunch with Biden. And then the press briefing is, before that, the press briefing is happening. Obviously, the press secretary, John Earnest. 12:30, VP and POTUS having a little lunch. That's it.
It's supposed to be a nice day today.
Maybe they'll dine
By the way,
al fresco.
Did you see this whole thing about the president going to this fundraiser in Potomac? He went to Potomac on
where the rich people are
on Wednesday,
right?
And it was a fundraiser in Potomac at 6 o'clock.
Okay,
and he took the Beltway.
Whoa!
And it was
shut down city.
A nightmare.
Wow,
it was
awful.
Really bad.
Speaking of schedules, though, on the sporting schedule here for DC. Three Boston teams on the schedule, Jamie Benson. Whoa. Number one, the Bruins got banged out last night by the Capitals, just like everybody else in the NHL has been this year. Tonight, the Celtics are going to get banged out by the Wizards. Sunday, we'll see. Pat Skins. Not so sure about how that one's going to go. But if they pull the trifecta, Jamie,
oh man,
you owe me a big one. We're going to have to find a bet
we will
put on that. I'm Clinton Yates, the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The hardest moments for me is when I'm laying awake in the middle of the night and I'm thinking about all the times I made a pitcher of Kool-Aid with the water, or I boiled a pot of corn or potatoes with the water. Those thoughts just stick with me in the middle of the night, and I feel horrible as a mom that I didn't know that something was wrong, but how could I have known? There's no way I would have known.
The spill at Dan River happened when a drainage pipe that ran underneath an ash basin and dam collapsed, sucking out 6 decades of waste and spewing gunk directly into the river.
My husband and I just kind of looked at each other like, should we be concerned? We live right next to an ash pond. And this was coal ash spilling into the Dan River. And we learned at that point all of the toxins that were included in coal ash.
A situation like Dan River, where there was a catastrophic disaster, gets people's attention. But the fact is that these coal ash pits have been leaking and poisoning people's groundwater and the state's surface waters for decades. Coal ash is the residue left behind after coal is burned in a coal-fired power plant. A large coal-fired power plant can burn 10 million tons of coal a year. When the organic matter in the coal is burned away, what's left behind are these trace minerals, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, selenium, and chromium. And these are highly concentrated. The coal ash can have concentrations of these contaminants that are 10 to 100 times greater than the level in the coals themselves.
Coal ash pond number 1 is right behind my house, literally pretty much in my backyard. We were approached by a neighbor who was wanting to have their well tested, and we decided that maybe we should have ours tested as well. They found hexavalent chromium at 4.5 parts per billion.
So in talking to the residents, we have discovered anecdotal evidence of an extraordinary number of cancers for this fairly small community.
Some of us in the community got together. We started kind of talking about all the cancer that we've seen in some of our family friends in this community. I think we had somewhere in the neighborhood of around 70 names. So we had some help from our river keepers putting a map together. And it was a little shocking to see it. You know, I still have a hard time looking at it.
Technically, EPA has not regulated coal ash as a hazardous waste, but it is undeniable that coal ash contains many, many hazardous substances that are hazardous, in fact, to people and the environment. And the only reason they have not been regulated as such is because of intense lobbying efforts by the coal industry and its allies.
A lot of these chemicals are simple elements, but when you find them at the levels that they exist in around coal ash ponds, then you're starting to talk about cancer, brain tumors, you're talking about birth defects, developmental problems, neurotoxicity.
We began to look at legal options, cases that we could bring in court to protect communities and their citizens from these toxic leaking time bombs. In 2002, North Carolina enacted a public financing mechanism for judicial elections. This kept private money out of judicial elections.
The repeal of the public financing program in judicial elections in North Carolina creates a dangerous precedent for all, and it gives corporate polluters and other special interests the opportunity to elect the judges that they want. And this is important for us all. Everyone should care about this. Because when you think about the fact that the state and the federal government have basically abdicated their responsibility to regulate these issues, the state courts are the last stopgap.
I think this is no longer a problem that's going to go under the radar. It has been exposed, and I am confident that we will ultimately, with the facts, win out and ensure that we have protected waterways.
And so this is something that we all should care about. If we're worried about the water we drink and the air we breathe, we have to be concerned about money in judicial elections.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
What up, kiddos? It's me, Clinton Yates from the Washington Post, filling in for Bill here. It's Friday, November 6th, 2015. I want to thank you all for tuning in on your progressive talk stations around the nation or for watching us live on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. Of course, Free Speech is seen on DirecTV and Dish Network. TawkrTV is on youtube.com/TawkrTV. You can tweet us at at BP Show. That is the Twitter handle. Of course, you can call us at 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. Peter Ogren is the executive producer of this show. Jamie Benson runs the board. Ray Rogers answers the phones. And Cyprian Bolding runs the video. More importantly, though, it's time for America's favorite game.
This is Travis versus Travis. Now, here's your host, Clinton Yates.
Our two contestants are two contestants we like to have in all the time. Travis Waldron, a sports reporter for the Huffington Post. You can find him on Twitter at Travis_Waldron. Hello, Travis.
Hello.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
And your competitor is the NHL editor for SB Nation, Travis Hughes. You can find him on Twitter at TravisSBN. Mr. Hughes, how are you?
Great.
Okay, let's get this started. We all know the deal. Slate News Quiz is what we do. It's a multiple choice quiz, and the season series is at 3-2, courtesy in favor of Mr. Waldron. Listen, guys, we would not keep playing it if you did not keep flooding our emails about it. I mean, it's just
so many this time.
It's unbelievable how many people. We did Igor versus Igor. People were like, no, bring back Travis versus Travis. It's unreal. Question 1 for you, Mr. Hughes. The Romanian government resigned Wednesday after more than 30 people died in what kind of a tragic accident? A ferry sinking, B, a border stampede, C, a nightclub fire, or D, a coal mine collapse?
Nightclub fire.
That is correct.
Wow.
Prime Minister Victor Ponta had been subject to long simmering disapproval, but the deaths from the fire sparked widespread protests about corruption in Bucharest. Good start for you, Mr. Hughes. Mr. Waldron, this week, residents of Houston voted decisively against a proposed anti-discrimination measure, which opponents nicknamed what? A, the Airbnb ordinance, B, the bathroom ordinance, C, the prayer ordinance, or D, the wedding cake ordinance?
The bathroom ordinance.
All right, you guys are up on your stuff this week. Restrooms were not specifically mentioned in the ordinance, but opponents used the slogan, "No men in women's bathrooms," and the specter of transgender people choosing their own restroom to defeat the bill.
So stupid.
Tied at 1. Yeah, very stupid. Question number 3 for you. Number 2 for you, 3 overall for Mr. Hughes. Stock shares for what product dropped sharply in Asia last Friday after a Chinese government announcement? A, cars, B, coffee, C, coal, or D, condoms?
So China reversed the rule where you can only have one kid.
I don't know that they reversed it, but they relaxed it for people that already had one, I think.
So condoms, though.
Yeah.
All right, good guess. Educated guess.
That was impressive. That was well done.
It's the only news I heard.
And you like the fact that I had the side info as well. China scrapped its one-child policy last week, and companies that make strollers, diapers, and formula got a big stock boost, but a favorite condom brand of Chinese buyers was off 10%. Good answer there.
Wow.
Mr. Waldron, cops in Anderson, California were at first skeptical and are now enthusiastic about what new weapon in the department's arsenal. A, nunchucks, B, trained geese, C, bagpipes, or D, very sneaky cheese.
Nunchucks.
This is correct.
Ninja Turtles all day.
The Anderson police chief patiently explained, but we got to talk about this, okay? Because Michelangelo was one of the more overrated Ninja Turtles there
false.
was.
That could not be more wrong.
What?
Clinton, are you serious?
I'm serious.
Michelangelo was the greatest
Hierarchy definitely goes Raph, Leo, Michelangelo, Donatello. That's how
Donatello
it goes in terms of the weaponry.
Donatello is definitely at the bottom.
Anyway,
we could agree on that.
Main bar. The Anderson police chief said, quote, its primary use is not a striking tool, it's more of a grappling tool. That makes no sense. Okay, 2-2. Mr. Waldron. Excuse me, Mr. Hughes. Representatives from more than a dozen Republican presidential campaigns met last week in Virginia trying to hammer out a unified GOP agreement on what threat to the republic. A possible government shutdown. B, illegal immigration. C, ISIS, or D, mean debate moderators.
It's the debate moderators.
Got him!
Oh my God, this is so stupid.
Finally got him to organize around something.
Exactly. The resulting draft letter, which includes demands like equal speaking time and room temperatures below 67 degrees.
Got it. Below 67 degrees?
Yes, has now been disavowed by most of the campaigns. Mr. Waldron.
Can I just point out really quickly, We haven't missed a question yet.
No, we are. You guys
We're
are
on
on
fire.
fire.
I don't want to jinx anything.
And I
for you
don't
guys.
have any toss-ups, so we're going to go with the old true or false. On Saturday, the leaders of what two nations will hold their first face-to-face meeting in 66 years? A, the United States and Cuba. B, China and Taiwan. C, South Korea and North Korea. Or D, India and Pakistan.
I have no idea.
I spoke too soon.
You might want to guess.
66 years. India and Pakistan.
Jackass.
Yeah.
For the steal, Mr.
So
Hughes?
the other ones were U.S. and Cuba, North Korea, South Korea,
China and Taiwan.
China. North Korea and South Korea wouldn't be talking, and I would have heard about the U.S. thing, right? Let's go with China and Taiwan.
Ooh, 2-point steal, big! At their Singapore summit, the leaders of the two nation states will address each other as Mr. Xi and Mr. Ma to avoid the tricky politics of recognizing each other as president. Peter, you spoke too soon.
I know. I jinxed it.
All
I
right.
jinxed it for Travis.
Maybe to put this out of reach, Mr. Hughes. Speaking at Rutgers on Monday, President Obama promoted a new administration push to ban the box. What is the controversial box? A section on applications for federal agency jobs. B, a police crowd control tactic. C, a toxic electronic component in landfills. Or D, beatboxing.
God, I don't know. Just go with beatboxing because I don't know the answer.
No! Federal agency jobs.
Boom! Big steal
Back
right
in
there
it.
for Mr. Waldron. Back in it. All right. Score is now 5-4. Mr. Hughes is in the lead. Travis, you have a chance to tie the game right now. That is Mr. Waldron. The Australian government announced on Monday that it would no longer be naming what? A, Knights and Dames. B, Pacific Typhoons. C, suspects in mass shootings. Or D, an official kangaroo laureate. That's funny.
Suspects in mass shootings.
No!
Damn. Be smart.
Could you repeat? Sorry.
A, Knights and Dames. B, Pacific Typhoons. C, suspects in mass shootings. Or D, an official kangaroo laureate.
You don't have to steal.
You don't have to steal.
But you can if you want to.
How many questions do we have left here?
We have
Strategic.
4 left.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna.
Travis came with a box of strategy today.
Wow. All right. The answer is A.
out here plotting.
Knights and Dames. New Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull
Didn't know
called the
they still
titles
did that.
anachronistic, out of date, and not appropriate for 2015. Which are 3 terms that mean the same thing. That's kind of funny. All right. So, wait, it's Mr.
Travis's
question. All right. That's funny. In a reversal of preliminary assessments, intelligence sources are now saying it's possible that ISIS is responsible for which of these events? A, an attack on a Iraqi hospital. B, a bombing of the Egyptian pyramids. C, the crash of a Russian plane. Or D, a shooting at a Saudi mosque.
The Russian plane.
Yeah.
That is correct. All right. Mr. Hughes, the score is now handwriting 6-4. Many international carriers are still avoiding the airspace over the Sinai Peninsula after Saturday's crash of a Russian passenger jet killed all 224 people aboard. All right, Mr. Waldron, you need these. On Sunday morning's news shows, what complaint did Speaker of the House Paul Ryan air about his new Capitol office? A, it's too far from the gym. Got to lift every day, got to get 20 minutes of cardio in. B, you ever get a rental car that's been smoked in? That's what this smells like. C, all due respect to Speaker Boehner, but I'm not looking at lilac walls all day. Or D, none of the printers work, spooler service unavailable. What does that even mean?
B.
That is correct. The office's previous occupant, John Boehner, was a chain smoker of, I will give a bonus point to you, Peter, if you know this. What did he smoke?
What did he smoke?
Yes.
I don't know.
Camel Ultra Lights.
Is that right?
Ryan says the carpeting has got to go. All right, getting down to it here.
Ultra Lights?
I know,
Like
right?
Boehner?
That's like, how are you
Clean
smoking
Air
at
Act
that
or
point?
anything?
Right, I don't even know. All right, here we go. Last 2 questions. Mr. Hughes. Liverpool, England has become the first city to install special lanes for what? A, ducks. B, electric cars. C, fast walkers. Or D, drunk drivers.
Fast walkers.
That is
I was
correct.
banking on you not knowing that one. I read that story.
Slow walking, phone staring pedestrians were the most annoying aspect of downtown shopping for almost half of all
Should get a
Liverpudlians.
special lane for tourists.
A city survey found. Exactly. All right, last question here, just because we got to do it. Mr. Waldron, an Israeli cabinet minister, created a firestorm this week by threatening to deport what group? A, Syrian asylum seekers. B, guest workers caught with marijuana? C, Palestinians living in West Jerusalem? Or D, thousands of stray cats?
Asylum seekers.
No.
Well, ooh, you want to take the steal just because? Wait.
We could still tie.
You can still tie.
No, I'm not down.
Oh, all right. The answer
No
is
fun.
D, thousands of stray cats. Agricultural Minister Uri Ariel has refused to allocate funds to control Israel's
D was always the joke
huge
answer.
population of stray cats. I mean, that's the deal. On the grounds that the Torah forbids spaying and neutering. So, guess what, Peter?
It's all over. Travis wins.
All right, just like every week, Travis wins. When we get back, we're going to talk about the U.S. military and their involvement in American sports. I'm Clinton Yates. This is the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. If I see dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
The most valuable morning radio show, according to The Nation magazine. This is The Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to The Bill Press Show. My name is Clinton Yates, filling in here for Bill on a Friday. Just played America's favorite game, Travis versus Travis. Travis won, per usual. Going to talk about some real stuff now, though. Headline, Pentagon paid up to $6.8 million of taxpayer money to pro sports teams for military tributes. Mr. Waldron, your byline is on this story. For those of you who have not read it, please break down to me what this is all about.
So a few months ago, it came out that the New York Jets had taken money from the Pentagon to do the military some of the military tributes that are ubiquitous at sporting events now.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of got attention of what other teams were taking. John McCain and Jeff Flake in the Senate took great offense to that and started looking into the contracts that the Pentagon has with pro sports teams. A lot of them are fine. A lot of them are things that are legit recruitment activities, right? But they say...
What does that mean, though? Break that down.
Things like tents at the games where they're signing up people, trying to enlist people, or running ads on the video boards. But some of them, they say, are patriotism for profit, essentially, which are things like they're paying teams to honor soldiers on the field and paying teams to unfurl those massive American flags with military troops. And they say that's improper. And they said in the report that, it's something that if teams want to do this and get the goodwill that comes with it, they should do it out of the goodness of their hearts, not because they're getting money from the Pentagon. And, they identified up to $6.8 million in contracts that included these things. So it's unclear how much money the Pentagon actually spent on these tributes. But there were $6.8 million in contracts that actually included some of them. They only got 2/3 of the contracts, though. Okay. So it's unclear. But it's caused a lot of changes. The Pentagon has come out and the Pentagon has kind of banned these things or is trying to. The National Guard has issued guidance against doing this. The NFL has told its teams that they should not take these types of contracts, and they're going to go back now and audit the contracts that their teams have with the military and refund any money that they think is used improperly.
Oh, wow.
Which they said in a memo that was in the report. So it's and McCain and Flake are still trying to actually ban this practice formally through the NDAA in the Senate.
All right.
So it's been kind of a big deal, and it's not a ton of money in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
I think it's more about the appearance than it is the money.
Mr. Hughes, there was even some hockey teams on this list.
Yeah, the Minnesota Wild were in the top 4 or 5, which is like, you would think it would just be all NFL teams, but yeah, the question for me with this is like, so there are a lot of or one of the interesting parts at least, a lot of it was, displays like you mentioned, honoring troops and taking money for that, but there were a lot of like charges for tickets. Like,
right.
When a troop goes to a game, when a soldier goes to a game, like they're paying for the ticket?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that's sort of the thing is again, it's like if you're actually honoring these people,
right,
do it.
Yeah.
Another interesting.
Don't take money for it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And they made a good point in the report that they say this is supposed to be recruiting activity. That's how they justify it. But there's no evidence that it's helped, boost enlistments in the Army or the military.
Right. There's no numbers.
And they say in there, like, if this is the best way we can come up with to recruit troops, like maybe we should reevaluate.
What's a kid in the stands at a game going to think? Like, oh, they'll put me on the video board after I come home from war. Like, is that
right?
That's a scary thought. And if you think about it on a larger level, you see these teams that have, the uniforms. You watch a college football game and they've got, camo everything and all this. It's a scary slope to think about what we're relating to. And never mind all the verbiage used in the context of sports. Oh, he's a warrior. He's a battler. They're going to war. If you think about the fact that an all-volunteer service for the United States military is using sports games as a recruitment tool, sure, it might not be that effective, but
No,
From a psychological standpoint,
right.
that's terrifying if you're a parent because you're thinking, well, what is the pipeline here? Is my kid going to play college sports or what have you and then go off to fight for the country? What if that's not what I want? But what if that kid feels obligated for it? And what if that is sort of what we come to accept as a reasonable way to recruit? I just don't think that makes sense. It's very actually kind of terrifying if you think about what we're doing with our armed forces.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think the main thing to me is it because I share a lot of those concerns when you see the camouflage uniforms and everything. But it's also like, are you just draping yourselves in this for the benefit? For the benefit,
for the money.
The money.
Yeah.
And, I know there's a lot of stuff they do. The NFL and all the leagues say there's a lot of stuff they do outside of that. They go on USO tours. They do all these things. Great. That's all awesome. But, it really does it's a public perception thing, right?
Right.
If we don't know exactly how much money they're getting, then it calls into question a lot of the stuff that we're seeing on the fields of, are you just doing this for money?
Yeah.
Are you and how much, if that's the case, how much are you actually honoring anyone?
This is a lot less prevalent in hockey, but you mentioned the Wild. Where do you see this thing going?
Well, so I was at the Capitals game last night, and they did a segment in the middle of the game where they honor a troop on the video board, and it's sponsored by some corporate sponsor. Would
that
they be
feels icky?
Right. Keep the corporate sponsor off of it. And I think it was Boeing or something. So it's
that
a little
makes sense.
Yeah, of course it was. Right.
But yeah, you see a lot of that stuff, and the question is would they do it if it wasn't sponsored?
Right. And I think that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Aside from the questions you raised, the big thing is, again, are you doing this because you want to, and because you feel like it's these people deserve honor? Or are you doing it because you're getting money for it?
Yeah, I don't like it at all. My dad is a guy who served in the military, and every time he sees it, he tells me it makes him sick because it's just one of those things. Yes, is it nice to honor veterans? Obviously, it makes sense. But if it becomes a matter of sort of pay for play, that is icky on a level that I don't think most people are really comfortable with when they really get down to it. Mr. Travis? Yo, that's my new bit, Mr. Travis. You like that, Jamie? You like that, Jamie?
I'm with it.
Mr. Travis. Travis Waldron is a sports reporter for Huffington Post. You can find him at Travis_Waldron. Travis Hughes is the NHL editor for SB Nation at Travis SBN. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back. My name is Clinton Yates. This is the Bill Press Show. Today's Friday.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Before now, it's been difficult for criminals like us to know which states have loose gun laws. How would a criminal like me know which states permit me to carry loaded guns in their amusement parks, golf courses, or beaches?
I have some violent friends. We all wear leather jackets and scream at women. And we want to find out which states we can buy and sell guns easily.
CrimAdvisor.com. That's the site to find out where it's easiest for felons and fugitives to buy, carry, and even traffic guns.
That's why I love Arizona, where I can go see the beautiful Grand Canyon and carry a loaded gun without even having to get a background check.
You would fail that background check.
I'm sure of it. Now, what about a road trip? What states can I go to fill my trunk with guns and take it back home for my even more dangerous friends?
CrimAdvisor has a list for that.
That's so unreasonable.
Our traffickers' top 10.
Nevada. What happens in Vegas may have to stay in Vegas, but your guns don't. Bring them over to California and sell them.
The market up there is hungry for guns.
I understand that CrimAdvisor.com will tell me which states really cater to us criminals and creeps, but what about the states where we're not so welcome? The ones that don't get us?
I don't even like saying the name of these states, but California, Connecticut, Maryland, and New York all have laws to keep guns out of the hands of people like us.
I want to shoot California so bad.
Boo, California.
Boo, go home. Wow. CrimAdvisor.com has all this information?
Sure does.
CrimAdvisor.com. Plan your perfect getaway. Oh, like TripAdvisor.
Oh.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates. I write for the Washington Post. You know what time it is, Peter?
Yeah, man.
It's drinking time. In studio, we've got Brew-Master and co-founder of 3 Stars Brewing Company, Mike McGarvey. You can find him on Twitter at 3 Stars Brewing. And, of course, online at 3starsbrewing.com. Got to tell you, there's a lot of beers that come out of D.C. these days. 3 Stars is one of my favorites.
Me too. Without a doubt.
We're tasting some new stuff today, though, aren't we, Mike?
Yes, we are. Brand new.
What do we got? Tell me a little bit about these flavors.
So we got 2 beers this morning. We've got Starsky and Dutch, which is a double chocolate stout.
Okay.
You're talking my language.
And Madness.
Nice.
Which is that beer you want to have around the holidays when you got lots of family around, lots of people you're just trying to deal with.
Frankly, I'm reaching for the rubbing alcohol. If I got family in town, whatever I can, whatever you get my hands on.
So, side question here, and I don't want to get too derailed before we taste this, but why do all beer names have to be puns? Can we discuss this? Like, you know, I would love to come out with a line that just has beers named 1 through 12, and you just got to figure out the flavors on your own. The pun bit is everywhere.
Well, the problem is you'll get served with a cease and desist letter within 5 minutes because somebody's got number 1 and number 2.
Okay.
The easy stuff's all taken.
Fair enough.
Now it's all about creativity. And with Starsky and Dutch, for example, that name came about. That's actually a reference to the process for making the beer. We use a Dutch process cocoa in the mash for this beer, and then later we add more chocolate. We actually, in this beer, we used some cocoa nibs from Undone Chocolate, a local chocolatier.
Huh.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Yep, they custom roasted it up for us. And
let me give this a taste here. We're gonna cheers here.
Let's get cheers, buddies.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Happy Friday, right? Happy Friday, right?
Weekend's here.
It's like, ooh, Jamie, bummer, bro. Hold on.
Ori, I'll get mine after the segment here.
This is good.
This is delicious.
I'm not even a huge chocolate porter guy.
Right.
But this is one. You know what? I always say this. What the frequency of which I would drink this in a night is. This is the one beer and out for me. But this is a beer I would enjoy. This is not a taste and move on. This is a beer I would have and enjoy. You're a bigger porter guy than I am, Pete.
I love porters. I don't love the really chocolatey, almost sweet porters, right? Those kind of drive me nuts. This is not overwhelmingly chocolate.
And it's got good flavor, too.
Because it's a delicious beer.
A lot of times you get either too much chocolate or too much porter, and you feel like you're just drinking sludge. This, you get a little bit of both, and I like it. This is a new release here, Mike?
That's right. This will be available this weekend at the brewery, actually starting yesterday at the brewery. And then it'll be released at Meridian Pint on Tuesday this week, and then available in the general public after that.
You can think I'm making a joke, but I mean, this is 100% serious. This is a good breakfast beer.
No,
this is a delicious. Am I wrong?
No. You know what? You're exactly right.
If I'm gonna have like a beer at breakfast, it's a good one.
And a breakfast beer is, not to say for people that are waking up drinking for the purposes of being alcoholics.
Right.
You're watching a footy match.
Yeah.
It's 8:00 in the morning. Let's say you're at the Pint. Yeah. Shouts to Johnny Andrade, owner of the Pint, who's been in here before. Yeah, it is a pretty good breakfast beer. That's a very well said.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorites to have to taste first thing in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, if you're going to drink beer in the morning, this is the one to do it with.
So tell me about this farmhouse that you guys have built inside the brewery, because I've been at Three Stars Brewery. There's a fair amount of breweries that are around, and last time I went, you guys were still on all the old school stuff.
Yep.
And that was sort of the big draw compared to all the other ones, is that it was a very sort of like, it literally looked like, oh, hey, guess what? Got a beer operation going back here, but it's actually the real deal. What is the farmhouse?
Yeah, so one thing we were missing at the brewery was just some of the creature comforts. People want to have a few beers, sit down, relax in a conditioned space, and that was something we didn't have. So we were thinking, what did we want to do for a space? And I got to give credit to my partner, Dave Coleman, on this one. He came in from left field. A lot of the beers we do are farmhouse-style ales. And so we said, what about doing a farmhouse in the city, in the actual warehouse? So that's what we got.
Nice.
I love it.
I love that idea. Because tastings were, and for those who don't know, there were different regulations for how you could do tastings in D.C., and they finally allowed you to basically just sit down and have a beer in a brewery, whereas before there was this whole dog and pony show between tickets and the amount you're allowed to give and so on and so forth. I'm not going to ask you to comment on that because you will incriminate yourself potentially about that. But basically, it was ridiculous that you could not sit down and drink a beer in a brewery in D.C. up until very recently. And so as a result, you've seen a lot of breweries sort of recreate their tasting room setup, and I think this is basically where that's going.
This is that's one of the purposes, and also to accommodate private events. We get a lot of requests for people who want to do things at the brewery, and frankly, we just didn't have a space for it. So
that's really cool.
Creates that space.
Yeah, I really like that. Talk about like the competition in DC, not necessarily by name, but like we've become a fairly competitive beer town.
Oh yeah,
and it wasn't that way 6 years ago, maybe. Right? I mean, we've blown up.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when the craft beer conference came here, what was it, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
I said at the time, I was writing a story, but I was like, listen. You get CBC, you're a beer town, buddy. That's just how that works. I was like, and that's cool. I don't know what you think about this, but I imagine the competition is probably a pretty good thing for you all.
It's fantastic because, the rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Sure, yeah.
And we've got just a group of very creative brewery owners that are all coming up with their own, their own styles, their own personas. What Greg's doing at Blue Jacket, what Jeff and Brandon are doing at Brow, what we're doing, and the others. There's just tons of stuff going on, and when we got started, there wasn't really anything. And to see now, instead of people grabbing for what was from out of town, looking for what's been done locally, I mean that's just fantastic.
Right. What's up with this second one? Let's get this puppy moving.
All right.
Here.
So the second one is Madness.
Okay.
This is a seasonal we've had since inception. Like I said, this is sort of the holiday beer when you're trying to get away from the family,
right?
But still be in the same room.
I love that. That is a great
this is a big 12.4% old style ale.
You just go ahead and float to the moon quick.
Finished with a little
diesel.
wood.
Yeah. All right. Cheers.
I mean,
cheers.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Ooh.
Whoa. That's trouble, dude.
Now this has
smooth,
this has what I'll call a buttery smooth intro,
turbo smooth,
where you don't really know. I'm serious, Jamie. Once you drink this, you'll know what I'm talking about. Where it doesn't really taste like beer. I mean, until you get to the back end, it tastes like just something. I'm not going to say juice because it's not like that, but
the juice.
No.
It's all about the malt in this one. So hops are very, very muted, but they're there. But really, it's about just big.
What is that?
I don't know.
First of all, it is delicious.
You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
though? It doesn't
absolutely delicious.
Doesn't have the bite of a beer.
Yeah.
But then when you swallow it, then you get there.
12.5%?
Mm-hmm. Oof. That means I'm going to put that down.
I'm going to take my top off in here.
Wow.
So, few more sips of this.
There's a picture of the farmhouse, which we should.
We're going to tweet that out. Yeah.
Peter's going to tweet that out from the show account at BP Show. If you're following us on Twitter, of course, we're here with Mike McGarvey of 3 Stars Brewery, co-founder, Brew-Master. I'm liking this.
This is good.
We've got it's available. These are the growlers. What are these the sizes you offer, or are there different size growlers?
Yeah, so we got 2 size growlers, 64 and 32 ounce.
Okay.
The Madness will later be released in bottles, a little later in the season, be a couple weeks before those, or actually maybe a little longer.
Okay.
But they'll be coming out soon. The Starsky and Dutch will just be in draft this year.
Okay.
But you can get it at the brewery now, and then very shortly, like I said, Tuesday out in the market, and then after Meridian Pint gets, I think you'll find it a lot of places. Oh, and one other, we're doing a chocolate and beer tasting together with this, with Undone, the Thursday after next, so the 19th.
Collabo.
Two great tastes that taste great together.
Collabo. That's great. All right.
Can we really quickly, I just want to talk a little bit about like distribution for you guys. Like,
Why don't we talk about it after the break?
Let's do it after the break.
We can come back so Jamie can taste these beers.
Sounds
and
good.
then we can get things moving. Hopefully the show won't fall apart with our board up drinking beers.
Yeah.
I'm Clinton Yates. We're drinking beers with 3 stars. It's the Bill Press Show. Hey, it's Friday. We got breakfast beers. We'll be back.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Clinton Yates, filling in for Bill Press here on a Friday. Talking with Mike McGarvey, who's the Brew-Master and co-founder of 3 Stars Brewing here in the District of Columbia. Jamie, got to get your thoughts. You're the last in on the taste.
So good.
So good. Which one did you have first? The Madness?
I've only had the chocolate.
The
so
chocolate?
far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have some of that other one.
Try the Madness.
Here we
Try
go.
it right now.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
Here we go. Note the smoothness. Woo! You see what I was talking about?
Delicious stuff.
You see what I was talking about?
I see exactly
that
what
front
you're
end
talking about.
deal is.
You know what it almost hits me like, and minus some of the flavors, almost like a hot buttered rum.
Yeah.
Except without the hotness, obviously. But
Right.
like it's buttery.
That's the consistency you're going
very
for.
alcoholic.
Right.
In a good way.
Mm-hmm. So you wanted to talk about distro?
Yeah, let me talk about distribution because, like, local breweries I think are so cool because, like, it serves a certain audience. But, like, are you guys mainly focused on, like, the bar crowd? Are you trying to sell more to consumers? How far would you want to branch out? Or you like to keep things local? Or
I think the biggest we've talked about is maybe regionally.
Yeah, sure.
And maybe some select good quality beer cities.
Yeah.
But we're not looking to be the biggest thing in the world by any means.
Yeah. I like that. I like the, you can stay connected to people. You stay in the community and you talk to people and figure out what works, what doesn't.
Yeah.
And too much expansion can change you. You know, and then you find out. I don't want to get big time by Dave next time I see him on the street. You know what I mean? I'm not
Dave Coleman. Come on.
I'm not looking for that. You know what I mean? Because he's a good guy. But you never know. Sometimes people start blowing up locally, and all of a sudden they can't talk to you anymore. Tell me more about this debut of the Farmhouse, though. You mentioned. For those who didn't hear, it's opening today, tomorrow?
Soft launch today.
Soft launch is today. So what's the
today.
hours and all that? Where will be available?
Well, so right now we're still on limited hours. We're Thursday through Sunday, 4 to 8, or actually, I'm sorry, 4 to 9, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sundays, 1 to 5.
So we can't get our breakfast beers there, I guess.
Not just yet. Now, some of that actually is the city is getting ready to kind of change some of the hour restrictions that we have. So. That 1 o'clock on Saturdays, Sundays is kind of driven by regulations. But we're looking to be open more. So starting to do something from Tuesday through Sunday now that we've got the space.
Okay.
That's one of those things that was a little challenging. Brewing operation with tap room, but we just didn't have the staffing levels and the space.
Right.
So now we're gonna up the hours. We'll be open more accessible. You'll be able to get more unique stuff at the brewery as well. We're focusing on some of that stuff, some brewery-only type releases.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What do you drink?
What do I drink?
Yeah, what do you drink? What's your drink?
Well, these are good ones for me.
Yeah.
We do another beer called Raspberry Dissonance. It's a raspberry sour.
Oh, wow.
That's one that I just can't
that.
get enough of. And that'll be available. That's typically at the brewery, but we'll have that available in more spaces. I'm trying to do more sour beers this year.
Let's talk about that. The sours are the new bit.
I love sour beers.
But look, hold on. Quick
I have
description.
for a while.
Hold on. For those of you who are not watching on Free Speech or TawkrTV, Peter has fully opened it up here and is cocked back in full relaxation mode.
Friday.
This man is enjoying himself.
This is delicious
This
beer.
Friday morning here with Mike McGarvey, brewmaster and co-founder of 3 Stars Brewing Company. Tell me more about these sour beers because I see them everywhere and I know nothing about where they came from and why they're taking over every single menu I look at these days.
Well, they've in Europe they've been a long time staple.
Yeah.
And really in the past couple of years you've seen even the larger breweries start to produce them. It's a different palate, a different flavor for different palates, and as people have gotten more exposed to them, I think people knew beer for what it was. And as craft has grown as a segment, people are getting exposure to more things because, the little guys are trying to do a lot of different stuff. You try to be nimble. You try to have lots of variations and styles. And as people have gotten exposure to this, it's just something that's taken off. It's people no longer think of craft beer as just hoppy, bitter stuff. Some people just don't like hops, right? And these new sour beers just create a whole different sensory experience, and people go nuts over them. But they take time, and that's some of the hard part is they take time to age and condition, and you really have to be careful about commingling them with normal beers in the brewery because they're one can infect another, and then you have nothing but sour beers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's really
Peter did a story earlier today about a place in Seattle that's a running store with 20 beers on tap.
Shoes and Brews.
Inside the store.
Brews. Yeah.
There's this big thing about lagers and running.
Yeah,
I've had a
it's
lot
a
of
whole
people
thing.
talk about, and bikers too, that light profile beer.
What do you think about that? Is 3 Stars going to expand into my local running shoe store? I mean, what's that about? I was going to say, can I get a beer at the dry cleaner now? What's happening here?
That's not a focus for us. Right?
Yeah. That's good to know. He's Mark McGarvey, brewmaster and co-founder of 3 Stars Brewing Company. You can find him on Twitter at 3 Stars Brewing, of course, online at 3starsbrewing.com. Tasting room opens today. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Get some beers.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate
Have some
some
good
beers.
stuff. Get
Yeah, these
some
are great,
beers,
man.
man.
Thanks, dude.
Awesome.
All right. When we get back, Gonna wrap up the show. It's been a fun week. Peter's got Cowboys on his shirt.
Let's do it.
Beers in his glass.
Let's do it.
I'm Clinton Yates. This is the Bill Press Show.
It took you long enough to say that.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, what do you say? Good morning. Great to see you this morning. This is the Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., bringing you up to date on all the news of the day, whether it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. Coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station, on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV. Events in the nation's capital. Hi, everybody. It's Bill Press. This year marks the 10th anniversary of doing the Bill Press Show, every day covering the news of the day with the nation's top newsmakers, either on the line or in our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. Not only that, I go to the White House briefings every day to get answers to the top questions of the day. Bottom line, if it's happening in Washington, D.C., either at the White House or the Capitol, we are all over it. Every day, we welcome to our studio political leaders and reporters and labor leaders and newsmakers to help us understand the issues of the day. You know, we started out as a radio show only, but over the years, we have branched out to all forms of the new media. So today, we're not just a radio show. We are podcasting, streaming audio, streaming video, and we are simulcast live on Free Speech TV nationwide, reaching out to 40 million households on Free Speech TV, in addition to hundreds of thousands on local radio stations and online.
AFGE is so proud to be associated with this show and looks forward to being working with Bill and this show for a long time.
Bill Press is the right man at the right time with the right message.
And thanks to the Bill Press Show, we get our message out to thousands and thousands of people every day. Thank you, Bill Press.
The Teamsters are a proud partner with Bill Press on his show, telling the truth about what's going on with working families. Tune in.
Yes, it's been a fun and exciting 10 years so far for the Bill Press Show. We're looking forward to many more with all of you, broadcasting live every morning from the nation's capital.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, welcome back to the program. My name is Clinton Yates, wrapping up the week here at the Bill Press Show on a Friday. Let's recap who we talked to. We talked to freelance journalist Libby Watson about the subject of trolling on the internet. You can follow her on Twitter at Libby C. Watson. Jesse Byrnes came in the studio. He's a staff writer at The Hill. You can follow him on Twitter at Jesse Byrnes, spelled just like how it sounds. Discuss a little Jeb Bush, a little Republican debate. Of course, Karmah Elmusa, my old friend and a writer and media professional. She's got a new story in Elle.com, Elle magazine, about what it's like being a Palestinian American while the two-state solution is tried to be rectified in that part of the globe. You can follow her on Twitter at Instant Karmah. That's Karmah with an H at the end. Of course, Travis versus Travis happened, America's favorite game. Guess who won, Peter?
Travis won.
Bingo.
Congratulations to Travis.
Travis Waldron is a sports writer at Huffington Post. You can find him on Twitter at Travis_Waldron. And of course, Travis Hughes is the NHL editor at SB Nation at Travis SBN. And last but not least, the Brew-Master and co-founder of 3 Stars Brewing Company, Mike McGarvey, came in at 3 Stars Brewing, had a couple beers he brought in, Madness and
Starsky and Dutch.
Starsky and Dutch. Couple of solid beers. Starsky and Dutch is a good breakfast beer. Madness is a holiday beer.
A creep up on you.
A creep up on you holiday beer.
These are the mornings where I don't have to lie about what's in my coffee cup.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
It's a good part. So, it's about that time, which is, what are you doing this weekend? Jamie, you're going first.
Well, as you mentioned earlier in the program, it is a Boston-Washington weekend.
It is. Let's review. Boston the Bruins played the Capitals last night. It went well for the good guys.
The bad guys are going to take the W tonight,
Oh.
if that's how you want to frame it.
All right, so all right. Suddenly he's a Celtics fan,
Wait,
right?
whoa.
Right. Almost forgot about this.
When the Celtics play the Zards, you become a Celtics fan.
Weird.
Yes, I have.
That's fair. I have the same
decided-
conflict as a
know.
Spurs fan. I
know.
don't judge too hard.
I don't see you in here wearing
I
Wizard
love
shirts.
the Wizards, okay, because I live in the city. They're not in the same division, so I feel like it's fine to be able
Right.
to root for both. And for years and years, I was that guy that was like, I don't like players. I like this one team, and that's it. I've softened a bit. I've changed my stance.
Okay. All right. Well, so what about you, Peter?
Not to perpetuate a stereotype, but I'm gonna go drink some beer tomorrow at Novemberfest. Our good friends, Blue Jacket, Greg at Blue Jacket, and some other guys are doing a big beer festival tomorrow, and it's a whole big. The kids are invited.
Is this the
and
thing
all
you
this
told me that has turned out poorly in years past? People get a little too banged
stuff.
up.
No.
That's not
no.
that.
They
No.
do another one that is
Okay.
But this is not that one.
All right.
I'm gonna behave tomorrow.
I'm actually working tomorrow for a little bit, so I'm going to be watching the college football. But a friend of mine is having a birthday party, so that could get a little loose. You never know.
I should also point out. I know I'm gonna take hell for this. Alabama plays LSU this weekend.
God. Things nobody cares about. Things nobody cares about. Is Alabama even in the playoffs?
Excuse me, they are number 4 in the playoffs.
Why are they in the
LSU is
playoffs?
number 2.
Why are they in the playoffs?
This will all be resolved.
Because they're named Alabama.
Yeah.
That's right, because they're the greatest college football team ever.
Oh
but
my
look,
God.
but look, this is all going to be resolved by the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
Alabama wins, they stay in. LSU's gone.
Yeah,
LSU
unless
wins.
Forrest Gump's walking out of that tunnel, they ain't beating LSU.
I know.
Trust me.
I actually know this.
All right. I'm Clayton Yates. I write for the Washington Post. It's time to go. It's Friday. Safety first, kiddos. Always the best rule.
This is the Bill Press Show.